Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Earthen's Den. And in this episode, I don't mean to sound crass, but we're going to get straight into it. We're going to get straight to the point. And this episode is going to be mostly for my ladies. Now, y'all know that my audience is majority women. So that's typically who my podcasts are tailored to, although I do try to make it a inclusive, warm, loving, insightful den for whoever is coming to seek solace and insight in regards to their entrepreneurial and artistry journey. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast episode. And so let's just go ahead and get right into this. There's so much more to your life than a relationship. I know, like so many people are in this space where it's just like, you know, especially coming into the 25. I don't know what it is, but like in your later 20s, there's so much pressure for marriage. It's just so crazy. Like and it's crazy because it's like when you're in a space where you're like, I'm not really thinking about that right now. It's almost like you're typically deemed someone like, oh, like, you know, are you bitter or why you've just been hurt? And it's like, no, I just have goals and dreams and things that I want to pursue. And so in today's episode, I just got to talk to women about this because I think that this is seriously a phenomenon. And I don't think that many of our fathers have never told us, even though at Thanksgiving, you know, my cousin, he did kind of tell me some things, but these were some things I had already learned on my own, right? So here it is, right? We have our male figures, right? They come in and try to tell us, give us like relationship advice, but it's like we already then learned, you know what I mean? Experienced it for ourselves, which is great because experience is one of the best teachers, right? So as I get older, it's something that I just see around my ladies and relationships and things that don't work out. Oh my God, I don't know how to say this. This is the thing, you guys. This is why for me, I'm so passionate about the personal development of young girls. I'm so passionate about mentorship. I'm so passionate about role modeling. I'm so passionate about helping women in their goal attainment, right? So this is not going to be one of those podcasts where it's like, get rich, ditch the dude or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? This is not that. Like, this is not a man bashing episode. And I hate that we have to like roll out that disclaimer just because of today's society. I know there's so many like back and forth platforms and people are talking about this is what femininity is. The girls out here with the gowns to the knees, honey. This ain't that. Like straight up, this ain't that. This is just real, you know, and I've always been in that space of authenticity. So if you've been rocking with me, shout out to you again. I love you guys. Thanks so much for listening to my podcast. But I just need women to know, like, guys, when guys are young, okay, like young guys, they're not typically looking for that. Like, they're not looking to really settle down and commit with you. And I think that when you're young, every relationship is probably going to run its course. Now, I'm not saying, like, hear me clearly, because I'm definitely not saying that people can't be together for a long time and get married and, you know, X, Y, and Z. But what I am saying is that I just need women to look at this in a more lighthearted way. Like, I know a lot of people are getting married and a lot of people may have been together for a while and it's like, oh, it's so cute. Like, I just totally want to be in that space. But you got to know that your time is going to come, but you got to be real with yourself and look at your entire life and be like, look, understand that where you're at, the grass is green. Okay, hear me clearly. Where you're at, the grass is green, honey. It's green over there. It's sunny skies, honey. It's sunny. It's beautiful. It's just freaking fabulous. Like, seriously. You know, and I say that because I think that so many people, we don't, like, this ain't even just in relationships, right? I think just in life, we're never really content with our situations, right? We're always like, oh man, if I had this, if I had that. But it's like when you get that, you don't realize the things that come with that, right? Relationships are very, very, very time consuming. Like, you have to literally consider a whole nother person on every move that you make. Now, it's not a child. It's not a child. So you don't have to be out here, you know, making those type decisions. But there are some compromises in that, right? Like, you got to pick up the phone if you're committed to someone and you don't really want to pick up the phone. You like, there are just responsibilities that come along with being in a committed relationship. Now, I'm not saying don't be a girlfriend, just be out here being a side piece, be out. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that get your life together. Find the things that you want to do in your life. And I'm telling you, like, you'll actually start making better relationship choices and you won't be so like into this like this. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying don't like, okay, you should hear me clearly. Because this is not a playbook, okay? But what I'm saying is that what I know and what I found with so many young men, and, you know, they talk about this in the books. I just don't think that women, we don't really care to read this stuff, or we don't maybe want to believe this stuff, because we do see the girls who are the exception, right? She married her boo in high school. Now they got a house up in, you know, on the hills, or, you know what I mean? We hear about these exceptions. And so then we make that the rule. But it's like, that's not the rule. And I'm not saying that it can't happen. So please hear me clearly when I say that. But what I am saying is that most young men who may not have their stuff all the way together, right? They may still be finding their way. They're not really looking at it like that. They're not coming into the relationship with that mindset of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to wife you up. And the thing is with women, especially, like I said, once you come into your later 20s, like I'm, you know, approaching that mark, it's so much pressure. And it's not even necessarily the pressure you're putting on yourself. It's the pressure from society, right? You get on Instagram, everybody got a ring, everybody, you know what I mean? And now you're looking at your boo, but you know, the whole time, like for real, ladies, be real, whole time you knew that this was probably going to be a seasonal thing. You was like, you know what? I know, you know, like we rocking right now, and this is good right now at this part of my 20s, but I know as I get older, this guy is probably not going to be the guy that I will actually want to marry, right? And let's just be real. Like, you know, women don't talk about that stuff, but that's a real thing. Like, not every guy you meet, you're really that into to where it's like you can see it forever. Like, you know, and even still in that sense, I personally think, you know, this is what this whole episode is about. It's like, when you can't see that with that person, don't commit to that person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't commit to that person. The reason I say that is because when you're a young girl, you're just a girl, honey. You're a girl. You like a guy. You have this tendency, women, we just have this tendency, we're very nurturing. And so we come in, we pour in we're all in. Like, we're all in. Unless you've had your experiences, right, then you know you can be in a relationship where you know what you can and won't give and your boundaries. But this is more than likely for women who have not had these experiences. So you don't know your boundaries, you don't know your limits, you don't know, you know what I mean? You don't know. So that's why I'm making this episode. So anyway, when you don't know, you find yourself giving a little too much too soon. You find yourself very depleted in a relationship like this. And the reason being is because the guys that you're dating, and it's not always you either, sis. Like, let me just say that because, this is always 6-7 minutes in and this is juicy. So it's not always necessarily you, right? Like, you have to understand in your early 20s, like, we all know that women just have a completely different psychological, like, stimulus, brain, like everything is just completely different in regards to just the female genetic makeup, the way we do things, how we think, how we process things. Like, we know that little girls are walking and talking much quicker and faster than little boys, right? So the development is completely different for men and women. That's just what it is. Like, I mean, call it what you want, but that's just the facts, okay? And so with that being said, you have to realize that a lot of young guys, they're not necessarily going to be there just yet, you know? And so it's not like you have to be like, oh, I'm just going to just be someone who's extremely promiscuous. If that's not the way you want to go about it, like if you're a classy lady, you just got to understand that, when it comes to entertaining people and, relationships, like somebody can desire you, but they may not be able to cherish you in the way in which you need to be cherished. And so what happens is maybe you were pressured, or maybe you just like this person. You was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a chance, or whatever the case may be. But it's like, when that doesn't work out, or when this person ends up being what your intuition told you it was going to be, like a seasonal thing, or they end up just like, maybe you just feel like, okay, he didn't want kids and now, I'm getting older and I want kids. Like, whatever the case may be, ladies, that issue, that intuitive knowing, like on the third week, like be real with yourself. Like, come on, ladies, we be knowing, like on that third week, 30-second date, like, girl, you already knew, like this, I sensed it and I knew it wasn't going to be true. And I could say this too, like, don't beat yourself up when you do go against your intuition, because honestly, it's something that you're going to learn with time. Like, you're going to learn with time. Like me, I've gone against it so much this year to the point where it's just like, okay, hold up. That was like my biggest, I learned a lot of lessons this year, but that was definitely probably one of my biggest lessons. Like, intuitively trust that. You got to trust that. And it just comes with time. So don't beat yourself up if you win against it a couple times. And even still, like, you get to Starbucks, you're like, you know what? I'm going to order the almond milk X, Y, and Z, right? And then it's like, they're like, oh, well, you should try this Honey Crisp, whatever. And then you're like, okay. But then it's like, you already had your mind made up. Like, you knew you were craving that. And then you tried this Honey Crisp, whatever, drink, and it's disgusting. You know what I mean? And then you're like, I knew I should have went with my first thought. And that's how it always is, right? So just understand that. And the reason I'm making this episode and my total, like, in conclusion is, You're so much more than a relationship. And it's really just because as women, like, we definitely love community. Like, I'm so big on community. Like, my whole life's mission is built on community. Like, that's just what I do. Like, I love nurturing communities, but you have to do it in a way that is going to pour back into you, right? So it's like, I personally think young women, you should have your friends. You should know what it is that you want to do and be in pursuit of that. And that needs to be your main goal. Like, I'm not saying never settle down, never give anyone a chance, but I'm just saying as you get older, you're going to just realize that, like, you really want to pursue your dreams. You want to pursue your dreams. You're going to realize that there's so much you haven't seen in the world. Like, and I just, it just breaks my heart to see so many young women in these spaces where it's like, they have only had one relationship their whole life. And, they either got married and he was the alcoholic, he was all this, mess, or they had this boyfriend and it was only their second boyfriend and they got pregnant by the guy and now they hate each other. And you know what I mean? Like, you don't let that be your life. And the reason I say that is because it's like, these are your really, really good years. It's not even just a matter of fertility or looks, but just for your life, like your youthful essence. You know what I mean? Like, do the things that you want to do. Like, I see a lot of women getting in shape, being in the best shape of their lives. I see a lot of women starting businesses, starting their cookbooks, doing whatever it is they want to do. Do that for you. You know what I mean? Like, literally do that for you. And understand that if a person can't pour back into you in the way in which you really know that they should, and ladies, you got to believe that it can happen for you. Like, you have to believe that there really is a guy who can literally pour into you in the way in which you pour into him. You just got to understand that he may be in process, but you don't need to be out here putting the cart before the horse. Like, you need to let him go on that prairie field, honey, and find his master, right? Okay, God, hello. And let that be the case. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, you don't want to give all your good stuff to someone who is not mature enough to handle it. And if he's not a man, right, understand that not every boy is a man and not every guy who is making money is a man. Girl, come on, look at NBA YoungBoy. Now listen, hold up now, because this ain't no shade. I'm just saying, like, it's not maturity. That does not equate to a man. That does not make a man. That does not make, that does not indicate that this person is mature. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to understand, like, you don't do that to yourself, because what's going to happen is when you have these bad breakups, when you have these bad relationships time and time again, one, is going to harden your heart. Two, your self-esteem is going to be so shot. Like, for real, like, I think if many women were honest and we can really sit here and talk about a lot of our self-esteem issues, one, first of all, as a woman, you know that society alone puts so much pressure on beauty style, like beauty standards, beauty types. Like, I know for myself, I realized, like, a couple months ago, I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense why I just had this, like, mild, not necessarily obsession, but I was in great admiration of Beyonce, right? And it was because I had actually never seen a brown skinned girl that looked like me. You know what I mean? Like, I had never seen that with, like, a lot of hair, even though Beyonce, Cherokee or whatever, but I have a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, we have the same kind of, like, complexion. Growing up, it's literally either the mixed chicks with the pretty curly hair. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying that 4C and coils are not pretty. But what I am saying is that we understand that the media glorifies two images of black girls. It's typically a mixed black girl and a African woman. Let's just be real. Like, so I think for me growing up, Beyonce was like, I just was in such admiration of her because I had never seen another, like, brown skinned, beautiful, woman, like, doing her thing that was actually getting the praise and recognition. Now, of course, Kerry Washington, like, come on, we know that these women are very beautiful, but I'm just saying, as far as the media goes and, like, growing up, that was not something that I was seeing. Like, they weren't, you know what I mean? And so now we're coming into this new space where there is seemingly a lot of inclusivity, but we still deal with a lot of racial discrimination, just a lot of different things in day-to-day life as black women. So, that's another whole conversation for another day. But I just, so that's one thing, right? So we understand that society already portrays a certain particular body image that we have to have as women. And, that's just a whole nother thing in itself. And then on top of, the world just kind of being shifted in a way to where it's like women are disregarded, the way we are seen as, like, weak. We're just now getting in positions to be able to be entrepreneurs and getting leadership positions. But I mean, even still in that space, we're not really respected, right? Because we know that statistically women make extremely less amount of money than men who are in the same exact roles, like, for real, and so, that's literally across the board in every different kind of career. So, we still got some work to do. And so the reason I say that is because it's just like, I think a woman is such a, beacon of light, and she's seriously a force to be reckoned with when she knows who she is, right? And so many of us can't get to that place because we are in relationships with people who literally can't pour into us. It's not that he doesn't want to, he just can't, and I know we see the stories where it's like, oh, this person ended up getting with this person after she was there for him, X, Y, and Z. And I think for myself, when I look at those situations, it's never a right thing to do. But there's something said about being with the person where you're insecure and you're just backed into a corner. And then when you start to love yourself, some people don't know how to love you in that sense anymore, right? They're actually a lot more comfortable with you being down and being in a space where it's like you're the Rudy Poo. And I'm not saying that goes for women. I see that actually a lot more in that I see that actually happening a lot more for women versus men. But I'm not a man. I can't. We're not gonna go there. But so, anyways. I just, it's just important for women to just know that you do have a life outside of that. And being in the wrong relationships for years or, having all of these painful experiences back to back and back again, it's not producing anything productive. It's actually just bad fruit. Like, you got to understand, like, God wants us to have a good life. You know what I mean? And I think that, like I said, when it comes to life, you guys, life comes with enough pain, enough suffering in its own time, in its own seasons, right? Like, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with your own, internal things, right? You're young, your young 20s coming up, you're recognizing, okay, I did go through these things. My parents were this way. Like, all of that stuff is heavy in itself, right? Dealing with social media, recognizing the progression within yourself, like, that is enough in itself, okay? So the last thing that you really want is to be putting all this extra pain and suffering in your life, by jumping in relationships that should have never been a relationship. It should have just been a friendship. You see what I'm saying? It should have just been, y'all just hanging out, because the thing is, like I said, when it comes to young guys, not every young guy is looking to commit. And if he is, maybe he's even coming into this knowing that it's only going to be for a season because he knows he's having fun and he's living his life. You know what I mean? So I just think that not coming from a space of bitterness, not coming from a place of cynicism, I just think that young women, especially if your life is not together, I ain't talking about perfection. I'm talking about progressive. And I'm talking about you living your best life and you knowing the things that you want to do in your life. Because here's the thing, ladies, like, when you really get in position, that's not even going to be on your mind anymore. Like, it's going to be on your mind and you're going to be like, oh yeah, like, that's cute. Like, but it's like, you're actually going to be happy because I can show up to my friend's wedding, and this is just me personally, call it, hey, whatever. And I can come with the Tiffany engagement gifts. Okay. And I'm like, man, I'm happy for her. You know what I mean? Because I know my time is coming, but I'm happy that I know for myself, I never settled before I was really ready. Right. Because you got to understand, there's a version of you that you haven't even met yet. And would she really be proud of you for dating this guy and settling down with this guy who is, come on, check the fact sheet, ladies. You know what I mean? And so I just think it's just very important for women to go after their goals, because at the end of the day, there's so much more to you than a relationship. And, the reality is that it can come and it can happen for you, but you just can't settle though. You know what I mean? Like, you can absolutely have that person of your dreams. You can absolutely have that person of whatever, but it's like, you can't settle though. Because if you settle, you're not going to get that person. And you got to be real with yourself. Like, where are you on your checklist of goals? This ain't even a matter of like a daily progression. Although I do think that daily, what we doing every day makes a difference, right? It's a little drops in the bucket. Hello. But we also have to understand that, there are small goals and then there are long-term goals. And so it's like, you just have to know where you're at in your life and be honest with yourself. Have you really accomplished the things that you want to accomplish? Because I think that marriage, I think that it's a beautiful aspect of your life, but I think that it's so important to understand that it's not who you are. Because it's like, you have people who literally never get married and they literally never went off to do any of the things they wanted to do. You know what I mean? And this isn't even to say, oh, once you do what you do, you're going to meet that person. No, this is to say, once you do what you're going to do, you're going to make God proud and you're going to have a peace of mind. You're going to be manifested, self-actualized. God's going to be very proud of you for carrying out the mission and the gifts that he's given you, for helping his people, for being a good steward, for allowing him to use you and allowing him to be a vessel. Allowing yourself to be a vessel for him to do some great works in this earth. Because we all know that we definitely need a lot more light than now more than ever. Right. So it's so much bigger than you. And I just want women to understand that. So I really hope that this was empowering. Like I said, I'm never saying bump relationships and ditch your mans. But what I am saying is that you got a life to live. You know what I mean? You got a life to live, and you got to know what that looks like for yourself, and understand that society will always have a way of flipping things back on women, right? That's why I talk about self-esteem issues, like from bad relationships to society. Like, society will always have a way of flipping it back on women. It breaks my heart to see men who just, are in these spaces where it's like, and here's the thing too, you guys, this is what I think about a lot of this, talk that men are doing in regards to these relationships, these TikToks, how they're talking about girls on Instagram and, all these things. It's so silly. It's so silly. I think that when it comes to men, I think that they're trying to find a way to kind of heal and create a community. But no matter what, the way the world is set up and the way in which it has always been set up, it will always be a woman's responsibility. And it's really disheartening, because it has nothing to do with us, right? A lot of insecurities that people have, and just everything that really goes wrong, as women. This is why I'm so passionate about women just being the best versions of themselves and just living lives of prosperity within their own, conduits and their own, time frames and just the whole nine, because society just gives us so much crap. It's crazy to me how, a young woman will be raped and they would say, oh, she's just fast. She was always walking around here, X, Y, and Z, right? Or a young woman will have a baby with a man. And, it'd be like, oh, well, you chose him. That's what you get. Right. A young woman will be in a position where something happens and it's like, oh, well, what did you say to make him mad? You were the one you see what I'm saying? And, in the beginning, it sounds like, oh, yeah, but the real, that's so dehumanizing, because at the end of the day, what you're saying is that women are responsible for everything that goes on in this planet. And that's just what it is. And it's crazy to me. You got some crazy kids. Oh, girl, you the one, you should have just been raising them. You know what I mean? And so I've seen that and having to kind of push through all of that as a woman, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. And I don't think that men really sit in that space. And I also know, too, that men don't really have the same emotional capacity as women. So we have to be mindful of that. And we have to understand that, I think when it comes to empathy, it's something that's learned in men. I don't think that and that's probably come from, God, the work of God, and a series of humbling experiences. But not very many men are empathetic, right? They're war rangers. This is what they do. They go out, they're protectors. They're not very empathetic. So, if you're listening to this stuff, understand that it's probably not going to empower you. And you have to just understand that men don't have those same skills. I know a lot of times people, we think that men have all the answers, right? We think that men are the smarter or whatever. And this is not a either or, us against them thing. But what it is just a scientific thing where it's just we have to just understand that too. Not every guy has that high level of empathy, to be able to communicate effectively to women and actually empower them. A lot of that stuff is actually disempowering. So I encourage women not to really listen to those videos and not really to get into that too much. Just stay in your lane, girl. Let's, be a lady, do what you like to do. Okay. Listen to, there are a lot of really cool videos online of women that are just very, positive and, sharing little vlogs and things like that. So I just encourage women to listen to things that are empowering. Listen to women who, talk about their testimonials with God. Listen to women talk about business and finances and, listen to that type of stuff because, I think you have to understand where something is coming from. You know what I mean? And a lot of that stuff is just coming from insecurities and is being projected. And we understand that the role of society, I personally sometimes feel like it is to destroy women a lot of times because it's just, the protection, especially for Black women. But hold on, wait a minute. We ain't going to go there because that's a whole nother podcast episode. But I'm going to end with this, you guys. Go after your dreams. Go after your goals. Do the things that you want to do in your life. Okay? Because this is about you and God at this point. You know what I mean? This is about your spirit. This is about your fulfillment. This is about the things that can really make a difference in the world and in your life and the lives around you. And understand that when it comes to a relationship, it's absolutely possible to have those things for yourself, but you don't have to be out here settling, because if you settle, you'll never get it. You see what I'm saying? You'll never get it if you settle. And I'm not a relationship coach. I don't desire to be one. I would never probably ever put that under my belt personally. But I've had some experiences and I just wanted to share that with you guys. Be positive, live your life, really live your life and have fun. and understand that it's definitely more out here to just like traveling and spending all your money. Like, ladies, we love to shop, but it's more to life than that too. Like, try to find your purpose, try to find some things you're really passionate about, and try to make an impact in your community. You know what I mean? Like, it's the little things that really can fill your spirit, and you just never know with those things that may lead you to doing something else that may be extremely fulfilling. You know what I mean? But we're needed. We're 100% needed, and it just breaks my heart to just see so many women holding on to things and, you know what I mean? Like, really, really not getting the best that they deserve because of these narratives and because of the desire to be in a relationship, or the desire to be married, or the desire for community, right? Like, I talked to you guys a little bit about the power of sisterhood. I think that that's a real thing. We have to be nicer to each other as women. Like, that's another major thing. Like, I have to make another episode for this, but like, I know I said I'm in, but I'm in for real, for real this time with this. It's so important to have sisterhood. It breaks my heart to see women, older women especially, like being super catty, younger women being super catty. Like, understand that what you're looking for is sisterhood, right? You're looking for women to empower you. You're looking for someone to pour back into you. And sometimes that's not always going to come in a relationship, right? The thing about sisterhood that is so powerful is that it's such a pure space for connection and cultivation. You know what I mean? Sisterhood, your sister is going to be there to empower you and to do these things. And honestly, I know we talk about like, oh, she's jealousy, she's a hater. We're not dealing with I'm not dealing with that. And the reason why I have no tolerance for that is just because I think that, women go through so much in general. And I can assure you, like, the most beautiful women, I literally can tell you right now, have the most insecurities. Why? Because, girl, when you're beautiful, it's like it comes at a price. You got a pretty face. It comes at a price. You come out the gate having to fight, girl. You're mad pretty, but on the inside, it's like, girl, all my life I had to fight. Like, girl, it's giving all of that. It's a lot. So I understand that, and I understand that every successful woman has paid a price to be where she's at. Like, she had to go through a lot. She had to go through those really tough experiences. She had to go through those times she was getting her money right. She had to go through those insecurities, like, and it's not even a matter of just like physicality. It's just a matter of life. Like, every person who has done anything great has paid a price for that, so I'm not really here for haters and jealous and people who are jealous, because to me, it's just like, at the end of the day, you're setting yourself back, because first of all, that's just such negative energy that you're attracted into your life. And, you just need to go to therapy. Like, honestly, I know I talked to you guys about how to overcome bitterness, but like, for real, if you are someone who is struggling with like jealousy, like envy, you're super competitive, go to therapy. You need to go get help. And I personally have no tolerance for that. I never liked that. I had a friend who betrayed me, who was mad jealous of me the whole time. And, it was just so disheartening because she was so beautiful and I couldn't believe it, So for you personally, I can't rock with that. Jealousy is such a tricky thing. It's such a slippery slope, because a person will be rooting for you, but the whole time wishing you fall and wanting it to be you. And, for me, I just have a zero tolerance for that in my life, in my circle. Like, if that's your energy, you cannot sit with me at all. I'm not making any exceptions. Competition, you cannot sit with me at all. I'm not making any exceptions. Like, if you want to be a winner and you want to win and you want to build this thing from the ground up, then this is going to be great. But if you're someone and you're struggling with those things, you've got to go to therapy. Like, I just will not rock with you. And I'm not saying that that's like a prerequisite for you to come into my life, because me personally, I don't play with spirits. Once the moment I hear it, the moment I see it, you know what I mean, I dismiss it and we going to move accordingly. So that ain't really my MO. But sisterhood is important. Sisterhood is what you want. You want to be around your girlfriends and you want to be around that love and that support and that encouragement. But it's not something that comes often, you know what I mean? Because I know a lot of women are in this space, and, social media culture, there are a lot of influences that make sisterhood a very hard thing to develop, especially in today's society. And that's a conversation we're going to have on another day, I promise. But I got to get on here and let you guys know, like, there's so much more to you than just a relationship. Relationships can really hold you back. Especially the wrong relationships, and especially people who, don't necessarily have the best interest for you. And it's not until you get older that you even start to have the best interest for yourself sometimes, and if you're not really making the best decisions, that's okay. Like, you gotta be so compassionate with yourself. I'm talking like, you gotta treat yourself like a little baby. And you gotta treat yourself like a little baby. You gotta know, like, okay, hold up. Let me be real about my stuff. Like, this is who my parents are. This is the choices that they've made. This is how this has influenced me. All right, cool. I know I definitely came out the gate and I did the exact same thing. 20s is nothing more than unlearning. Like, literally, it's nothing more than unlearning. And it's nothing more than taking a deep dive into yourself, being extremely insightful, and having a willingness to make different decisions. That's 20s. That is 20. So, you know what I mean? Like, don't ever beat yourself up if you are in a relationship where it's not the best for you, or you have settled in the past. Like, that's because nobody ever told you. But that's okay, because here I am today. Okay, here I am today letting you know. All right? So you can't say now you don't know, because now you know. Girl, I just told you what you need to be out here doing. All right? So put forth your best foot forward in regards to yourself, because you deserve that from you. Like, you nurture yourself. You know what I mean? You nurture yourself. And understand that, like, sisterhood and community is very, very important, especially during times where you're not feeling so good about yourself. Okay. And if you're around women who, don't have that emotional availability, I personally say treat it just like any other relationship. I have a zero tolerance these days, man. I'm telling you, I've got some stories for y'all, but we at 30 minutes. I don't want to go over this cap, even though I could. I really could, and I really should. I'm going to end with this. There's so much more to you than a relationship. There's so much more to your life than marriage. Marriage is a beautiful facet of your life that will be great, right? It's an addition. It's going to be something super awesome to add in. But you and yourself is like, you're magnificent. Like, girl, you already the sauce. Like, you're already the sauce. Like, you got it. You know what I mean? And don't be afraid of having it. Okay. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. And I hope everybody has an amazing night.